All righty, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. We're going to get started shortly for this session. Dive into data-driven insights with Flocabulary. While we're waiting a couple minutes, where are people joining us from? You can enter that in the chat if you're so inclined. Just curious to see where people are coming from. Texas, very nice. Just a heads up, we have on the screen instructions to join the Nearpod. You're going to see a code up at the top, GIX4P. Follow the instructions on the screen to join the Nearpod. I myself, I'm in Brooklyn as well. I'm actually at our studio right now, Pennsylvania, very nice. So yeah, just gonna let some people join the Nearpod as we go. We'll get started in 1 or 2 minutes. Anybody else? Where are people joining us from? Just gonna give it another minute here. Definitely feel free to follow the directions, join the Nearpod, using that code right up at the top, GIX4P at join.nearpod.com. Or I believe Chris posted a link in the chat, and there's a chance to click on that link, and that'll bring you right to where you need to be. Cool, just give it another 30 seconds and we'll get started. All right, everybody, welcome to Dive into Data Insights with Flocabulary. I hope all of you have been able to join that Nearpod here using the code up at the top. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce you to our presenters today, and then we'll cover our agenda. So I'm Mike Judd. I'm a senior curriculum manager at Flocabulary and Nearpod. But what I'm really here to do is set things up for Rachel Leopold, a senior product manager, and she's going to share some new and exciting reporting features that are coming to Flocabulary relatively soon. So hold on, let me click over to the agenda next. So after we do a little bit more intro on what we'll cover today, we'll dive into what's new on Flocabulary, and then Rachel will do a demo of the features that we talk about. And then after that, we'll close with a Q&A. That'll all be done through Nearpod. So many of you are already familiar with Flocabulary, but for those who aren't, Flocab is a learning platform centered around hip hop music. Each music and each song and video is paired with a set of activities, including discussion questions, quizzes, reading passages, vocabulary cards, lyric lab, a whole bunch of things that go with those songs and videos that we have. For us, it's really all about engagement. So we aim to accelerate learning through rigorous and engaging lessons. And our content helps students build a deeper understanding of topics, but also keeps them engaged with high quality music and visuals. On top of that, we have a proven impact with reading comprehension when it comes to state tests. So let's shift gears to vocabulary. I have a question for those who are in attendance and maybe in the Nearpod. How many exposures to a word do students need in a range of different contexts for that word to move into their long-term memory? So this is going to be a poll in the Nearpod, so feel free to answer right on this slide. So what do you think? It's 5 to 9, 10 to 14, 15 to 19, or 20 to 24? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of C's here. So let's jump to the next one. So yeah, I think a lot of you were right. This number that research suggests is that it's about 17 exposures to a particular word for it to be committed to long-term memory. Now, of course, every student's different. For some, it may be fewer, some more. But what's important is students get repeated exposures to academic vocabulary in order to commit those words to long-term memory. Why is it important? Because in order to comprehend a text, a reader must understand over 90% of the words in it. We know that hip hop is a great way to teach this academic vocabulary because compared to other genres, hip hop songs have 2 to 3 times more words. So we not only use key vocab terms multiple times, but also provide context clues within the lyrics to help students understand what they're hearing. But it doesn't end with the music. So we use key vocabulary terms throughout every video and song, but we also reuse those vocabulary terms throughout the various lesson activities that go with a given lesson. In reading passages and quizzes, on vocabulary cards, and in our vocab game, students will be exposed to those words in multiple contexts in order to gain familiarity with them. And then students have a chance using the vocab cards to write using these words, and also in Lyric Lab to write their own rhymes using those vocabulary words. So throughout the process of a vocabulary lesson, students are getting multiple exposures to key vocabulary terms. And basically what Rachel is going to show us is a way that we can begin reporting on that. So that's the end of my preamble. I'm going to pass it off to Rachel to clue you all in on what's new and coming to Flocabulary, and then share a little bit of a preview.
Thanks, Mike. All right, so yeah, I'm really excited to share what is coming for our Flocabulary Plus district accounts for this back to school season. So as Mike said, we know that vocabulary is so important for subject area comprehension, and vocabulary is really thoughtfully and deeply threaded through all vocabulary lessons. As students complete vocabulary lessons, they are getting exposures to both subject-specific and general academic vocabulary words, and they're also getting targeted practice opportunities with those words. And we know that as administrators, you know, when you invest in an educational tool, you want that tool to give you insights. You want to see the impact that it's having on student learning. So we're really excited that for our Flocabulary Plus district accounts for this back to school, we're going to be surfacing that rich interaction with vocabulary that your students are having in the Flocabulary platform. And we're doing this through new district and teacher, district administrator and teacher analytics dashboards that are going to show word proficiency and exposures to vocabulary words across the curriculum. So you can really see how students are progressing on vocabulary through Flocabulary. And then we spoke with a lot of administrators as we were developing these new features, and in our research interviews, admins really expressed excitement at being able to use these dashboards with their professional learning communities to be able to sort of zero in on how students are doing on vocab across subjects, across the campuses in their district, as well as in different grade levels, and be able to borrow some best practices from high-performing schools, high-performing classes to others. So really excited to share what's coming. So if you now direct your attention from the Nearpod over to the webinar screen share, my screen, I'm going to give you a sneak preview of what's going to be coming out for our Plus district accounts. All right, so imagine that you know, this district has a goal to improve math comprehension district-wide. And one way that you want to do that is by improving literacy and vocabulary within math. So making sure that students are understanding those really subject-specific vocabulary words in math, like factor, you know, what does that mean in math, so that they can read questions on tests and, you know what it's asking and be able to answer. And maybe that's a reason that you brought on Flocabulary, because of the emphasis, as Mike was saying, on vocabulary across the curriculum taught in context. So now when you log into Flocabulary, you'll now see this new My Analytics module that's going to give you some high-level insights into student progress on vocabulary within Flocab. So metrics like the average number of word exposures per student, you know, as we as Mike was sharing earlier, repeated exposures in different contexts are needed to solidify the meaning of that word for students, as well as a breakdown of word proficiency across the district. So just starting with a high-level glimpse into how students are progressing on vocabulary within Flocab and the impact that it's having. And then you can dive deeper into our brand new analytics dashboards and really answer those questions specifically about a subject you're interested in, like math. So here you can take a look at where is vocabulary being implemented most in the district. So you can compare the different subject areas and see, like, as the school year goes on, students are getting more and more exposures to more and more vocabulary words within Flocab. You can kind of zero in on a subject you're interested in and see what strands within that subject the most exposure is happening in. So say, like, you're most interested in middle school math and improving scores there, might be interested in strands like ratios and proportions, expressions and equations, things that are going to be taught in middle school. And that kind of glimpse into where is vocabulary being used the most, where is the most word exposure happening, is that first clue as to what impact is it having on comprehension in math. And then after taking a look at, where is vocabulary being used, where is the most exposure happening, can dive a level deeper and see how well are students actually comprehending vocabulary words across the curriculum. So here you can get a sense of, how many students are showing high versus medium versus low proficiency on words overall, and then take a look at that broken down by subject area. So zeroing in on math, you can even see, like, which words district-wide are trending strong versus which ones do students district-wide need more practice on. And then you can even take a look at that by grade level. Again, if you're interested in middle school, you can look at, how much word exposure is taking place on my middle school campuses, and, where is their word proficiency trending. And then, you can look at also the campuses side by side. So you can take a look at, where is the usage and how does that correlate with the proficiency at the different schools. Again, if you're interested in middle school, you might be looking for a middle school that's showing high proficiency so that you can get a sense of, what's going right there. So here, Flocab Middle School, good word exposure, high proficiency, you can click right here to dive a level deeper into that data for this particular school. So be able to see, as an admin, both the district roll-up data and then all of the data for each of the individual schools. So here you can see, yep, there's a lot of usage within math at this middle school. And then you can also take a look at the classes at this middle school, filter down to the grade and subject that you're interested in, and kind of look for educators that might be, they're implementing vocabulary really successfully, and they might have some tips and tricks, some best practices that you want to apply, help apply to other educators in the school or even in the district. So really with these brand new dashboards, giving administrators lots of insight into that rich interaction with words that's happening in vocabulary and how students are doing, and where their teachers can focus to accelerate learning. And we also know that administrators want that insight into, into student progress, but also you want your teachers to be equipped with that as well, to inform their instruction. So the second part of this release, we're also going to be equipping teachers on our District Plus accounts with insight into vocabulary acquisition at their class level with the new teacher dashboard. So teachers will similarly be able to come in and see the overall vocabulary proficiency within a class, be able to take a look at how that's trending, across subject areas, in which subjects are students stronger on words versus weaker. They can look at that broken down by student or by word, so they can look at which students are showing low versus medium versus high proficiency on this subject. And they can also take a look at that by word, so they can see which words are trending strong versus students need more practice on class-wide. So really letting them zoom in on where are the spots where they might want to reteach. That's going to give them a sense of, what is most of the class struggling with, and where am I going to get the most impact out of reteaching. So really giving the teacher a way to zoom in on those insights, and figure out how to adjust their instruction for their class. And of course, all this data is really only as good as what action can you take from it. So the third part of this back to school release, we want to not only let teachers zoom in on areas for remediation, but also make it really easy for them to remediate within our platform. So once teachers kind of figure out, what subject area do I want to give students more practice on, they can click here to assign our new customized vocabulary practice sets to students. So what that's going to do, it's going to take the subject that the teacher selected, and it's going to push out a practice set to students with more questions on the words that they particularly are struggling with. So it's going to give them more opportunities to improve the proficiency on words that they have missed the most. So when we look at those red words class-wide, those are the ones we'd expect to show up on most students' sets, because again, those are the ones most of the class is struggling with, but each set will be customized for the particular student. So with just a couple of clicks, a teacher can send out a personalized assignment to the students in their class and help them improve their vocabulary, kind of giving them personalized attention just with a few clicks. And then when the student logs in and accesses that assigned practice set, they're going to get study material. So they're going to get flashcards so that they can relearn the meanings of those words that they were struggling on, so that they can refresh themselves on that. They're going to see the videos that those words come from and see those words used in context, because that's how we believe that vocabulary should be taught in context. So they're going to be able to watch those, study, and then play a practice game where they are going to be able to answer more questions about those words that they missed and have more opportunities to improve their proficiency on those words. And also, we're going to pepper in some words that they're already showing high proficiency on for spiral review to make sure that those words stay strong, and also just as a confidence boost, because they'll hopefully do well on those words. So we are super excited about this release. We are going to be releasing the district administrator dashboards that I shared to our existing Flocabulary Plus district accounts before the end of this school year. And then the teacher dashboards and the student practice will be coming in the back to school season. And yeah, we're really excited. Vocabulary, as you can see, I'm mixing them up because vocabulary is like in the DNA of Flocabulary. That's where it all started. Our founder, thought, why can I remember the lyrics to my favorite rap songs, but I can't remember these words I need to learn for the SAT? That's the origin of Flocab. He put those together. So we're really excited to be able to surface that vocabulary work that's happening, to give admins insights into student progress in Flocab, and to give teachers a way to accelerate that progress. So we're now going to go back to the Nearpod, where we have a collaborate board. So feel free to drop any questions that you have about what I shared, any reactions, thoughts, feedback. Feel free to post, and we'll answer those.
We'll leave this up for a couple minutes, see if anyone has any questions for us.
You can also put questions in the chat if you'd like, and we can answer them there too. Just going to refresh and make sure. Okay.
Just give it another minute. There we go.
Yes, thank you, Belinda. Yeah, definitely targeting all three groups with this release. Yeah, great question, Britta. The teacher will be able to assign these practice sets, and then they'll be able to see the results of each student's assignment, and there they'll be able to see which words were pushed out to each student individually. Great.
Cool. I think we'll give it another 30 seconds in case anyone has any questions, then we'll jump to the next slide.
All right, well, if there are no more questions right now, I'm going to pass it back to Mike, who's going to share how to learn more if you'd like to learn more about these features.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rachel. So if you're already a Flocab school or district partner, you can just reach out directly to your success manager to ask them. Any questions will get routed to the right people as well if it's specifically about these new reporting features. But if you're not currently a school or district partner but want to schedule a conversation to learn more, you can click that link right there in the Nearpod to find out more and sign up to set up one of those conversations. I'm going to leave this one up in case anyone wants to click. Just going to double check. So we want to thank you all for joining this webinar. Please, we'd love to hear from you and get some feedback. If you're willing to give some feedback, click here and provide some, insights on what you thought of that session. Yeah, thank you all so much for joining. We appreciate you taking the time, and thank you, Rachel, for walking us through those new features.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, everyone.